Welcome to today's live training video. Today I'm going to talk about how you can be sublimely happy with who you are and what you do. First of all, I want to welcome you every Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in the US. I do these live training videos answering your deepest and sometimes darkest questions. So I'm going to talk about four different aspects, the four different areas in this video. Number one is, what is it to be sublime? What is the definition of sublime, and what is the definition of sublime happiness? And so I do want to be clear with the words that I use and the definitions that we have so that we can come into an agreement as to what happiness is and what sublime happiness is and how you can reach those things. Because if you don't define what it is that you want, you can't actually get it. The Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So we'll know what we're target, you know what we'll want, and then we'll know how to get there based on the definitions that we have for the word. So we'll define sublime happiness, and then we'll talk about the three kinds of people who require validation. And then the one kind of person, I call it the super archetype, the super type, which doesn't require validation and is not like those three original types of people, and the type of person whom you can aspire to become. And so it gives you another road for you to get there. And this will help you become completely sublimely happy with who you are and what you do. I was having a conversation with an amazing girlfriend of mine, and she gets paid very, very highly. She makes a lot of money in her profession. And because when you're in a high echelon profession, you get to deal with a lot of different sorts of people. And so when you become successful enough, you'll arrive at that point where a lot of people are, you're going to meet different kinds of people, a lot of which are great individuals, a lot of which are just awful people. When you get to enough success, you'll find these awful people. They'll come out of the woodwork, so to say. The fourth category, the fourth thing I want to talk about is confidence. What is it to have confidence, and do you require confidence in anything you do? And recognizing what confidence is and what it's required for you to go into the thing you're doing now, and be completely comfortable and happy and ecstatic about what you're doing, presuming you like what you're doing. If you like what you're doing, what does it require for you to be completely comfortable with it, so that nobody can stop you from doing what you love doing, presuming it's ethical and moral, and nobody can bring you down, can make you look at how you value yourself differently about what you're doing and about who you are. So what is it to be sublime? Let's go into the information. To be sublime is to do something. It's something so grandeur and amazing and beautiful and excellent, so as to be admired and awed. Something so beautiful and grandeur and excellent that it is admirable, and awesome. To be something awesome is a word taken grantly. To be something awesome is to something of awe. You look at it with great admiration. That is what it is to be sublime. Happiness is an idea that I want to talk about, which tremendously inhibits a lot of people. Happiness, we're told two lies growing up. The first lie is that for you to be happy, you must suffer before you can be happy. If you don't suffer, if you don't work hard, if you don't suffer, you can't be happy, they said. And that is a tremendous lie. Why do you have to work hard? There's this great idea out there propagated by influencers and gurus. They say that in order for you to get what you want, you have to work hard at it. And let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question as a critical thinker. Why does anything have to be hard? Do you imagine what I love doing to me, is hard. Perhaps in the beginning I had some challenges, but I love doing it. And therefore, was it hard? Was it hard? Or did I just go through the process of something called learning? You see, if you look at anything you do, any endeavor you do in your life, and you look at it as learning, as the learning process, is it actually hard or is it pretty easy? It's pretty simple, isn't it? It's pretty simple to recognize you want something and you don't know how to do or how to get that thing, and you recognize in order for you to get that thing, there's steps involved, there's stages involved. First, you have to learn how to crawl. Was learning how to walk hard? Or did you simply just go through a process of learning, which was simple, which is easy? The thing that makes things hard is your psychology. The thing that makes things hard is you're imagining it is hard. Once you recognize that it's not hard, it's just different, or you just have to go through the process of learning. For you to be able to learn to walk, it wasn't hard. You just went through the process of learning. First, you had to crawl. In order for you to be able to run, you have to crawl. After you crawl, you can begin to stand up and then fall, stand up and then fall. It's the process. It's not hard, it's simple. It's just the process of learning. Do you imagine just when you've learned to walk, you can immediately run? Of course not. That would be silly. First, you need to learn how to walk, then you can learn how to jog, then you can learn how to run. Same thing with every process. The thing that makes... I'll go into this a different video. They say the one of the two lies is that for you to become happy, you must suffer first. And here's what I tell you, you don't need to suffer. Nothing needs to be hard. Just go through the process and be happy as you're going through the process, and you will be sublimely happy with who you are and what you do, whether or not you have the trappings of success. Now, isn't that a funny word, the trappings of success? A lot of people, they have the trappings of success. They have the Lamborghini, they have the mansion, they have all the things, the material things that one would imagine is required to be successful, to appear successful. Although, as you know, there are a lot of these people who have all the riches in the world and still commit suicide, and still are depressed, still take drugs to wallow in their pain. Why? It's because they have the trappings of success. One of the trappings of success is psychology. The admiration is a burden. The fame is a burden to them. And so despite their having the things that make you appear successful, they're not actually successful. They're not actually happy. And so, for you to be happy, you can be happy right now based on choosing to. See, happiness is a choice. The second lie that they told you growing up about happiness is that for you to be happy, you must do what you're told. You must do what you're supposed to. You must go through, you must get something. You must get something so that you can be happy. And so you grew up, you said to yourself, I'll be happy when I get the good relationship. I'll be happy when I get the car. I'll be happy when I get the house. I'll be happy when I build an amazing family. I'll be happy when I make $1 million a year. I'll be happy when... That is one of the lies, of the two lies that they told you about happiness. See, happiness is a choice. For you to become happy, all you need to do is choose to become happy. And you can be happy on the road to your goals. And so what is it to be sublimely happy? To be sublimely happy is recognizing that happiness is a choice. To be happy, that is admirable, that is so beautiful and awesome, is a happiness of which is of your own making. The happiness that is that you recognize that you don't need to suffer to become happy. You don't need to acquire anything to become happy. For you to become happy, you just have to choose to be happy. You can have absolutely nothing, no material thing, and be completely happy. There are people who create music on the side of the road, completely happy, whether or not they have the trappings of success. The third thing I wanted to point out to you are the three primary sorts of people who acquire validation or require validation. These are the archetypes of people, the three primary archetypes, and the one super archetype I'll talk about later, which virtually no one is. Number one is the archetype, the follower archetype. This archetype is solely validated when they do what they are supposed to do. When they do what they're told, they are the follower. They're validated by that. When people tell them good boy, good girl, they feel good about themselves. And they only feel good about themselves when people give them that validation, that they're doing what they're supposed to do. This applies in any aspect of your life, whether it's your work, whether it's your relationships, whether it's social life. And then there's the other archetype, the archetype that is only validated when people follow them, the leader archetype, which is not actually a leader. Because the leader says, hey, I'm going this way, come join. A manager is say, hey, you do this, you do that. That is a manager. So the leader archetype is not really a leader, it's a manager. And they're only validated when other people follow them. When people no longer follow them, when they don't get the likes and the hearts on social media, when they don't get the comments, they don't get the admiration and the awe, when no one interacts with their posts or their photos or their videos, they lose that sense of validation. They don't feel good about themselves. Are you one of those kinds of persons? That is a validation-seeking behavior. Not actually a leader, a manager. The third archetype of person is someone who is a misfit, neither validated by doing what they're supposed to do and neither validated by other people following them. And so they're sort of not validated by anything. And so these are the people that are depressed all the time, that are cynical all the time, that are not positive, not optimistic about anything. And then there's the super archetype. The super archetype is the one I would encourage you to go after. The super archetype is the one that I encourage you to pursue. And the super archetype is the one you can be, whether you're a follower archetype or a leader archetype or a misfit archetype, you can work towards. And that archetype is called the independent. The independent is someone who's validated solely by the results of their own decisions. They're validated solely by the results of their decisions. How does this help you? How does this information you've learned right now, how does it help you to become sublimely happy with who you are and what you do? You see, who you are and what you do you should only be validated by the results of your decisions. You say you're doing this now for your own reason, whatever that reason is. You're doing it because you've reasoned that for yourself. You've reasoned it out for yourself. You said to yourself, this is worth doing, this is worth my time, therefore I'm going to do it. Whether I get the validation of others or not. Because the only validation I need is the validation of my own validation. I validate myself, and the thing that validates me is the results of my actions. I go into any situation presuming I'm going to learn something, and by whatever I learn in that moment validates me. If I make a mistake, sometimes I make a huge mistake. Sometimes I lose thousands of dollars in my business. And I'm sublimely happy. Why? It's because I made a choice. Happiness is a choice. And I knew that the process requires learning. And sometimes that learning is a big learning mistake. A mistake in filming is you mistake, so you take again. You do another take, you do another take, and you do another take. The person that invented the filament light bulb, the reporter asked him after he finally succeeded in creating the filament light bulb, why didn't you stop after 3,000 failed attempts? And he said, of course, I never failed. It's because I just found 3,000 ways not to do that thing. Every mistake is a success. At the very least, you will learn. You're validated by the knowledge. You're validated by the sublime knowledge, the amazing knowledge, how not to do something. That's valuable. You see, people that don't experience the thing you're experiencing, the people that don't go after, make attempts at what they would like in their life, they never get to experience the sublime experience, the experience of learning how not to go about something, how not to do something. You know the reason why people have terrible relationships? It's because they lack experience. They presume they're supposed to be with one person, and so they experience something from one person. If you were to grow up playing chess with your dad and you finally beat your dad, and they say, "Oh, I'm the greatest chess player," and then you go out there and you play somebody who's actually intermediate at chess, and you get beaten, well, that's a strike on your ego. People lack experience, which is why they're terrible and awful at things. The reason why is because they don't get to experience the sublime happiness of learning how not to do something. The fourth thing I want to talk to you about is you don't need confidence to be able to do anything and pursue anything and go after anything. So what do you need? To know what you need, you just first have to learn what confidence is. Confidence is not estimation. Confidence is only gotten through experience. Confidence without proof, confidence that can't be validated by demonstration, confidence that's not demonstrable is arrogance. You can say you can read all the books for 10 years, read all the books in the world about riding bikes. If you say, "I'm confident about riding bikes," that's arrogance. Why? It's because you've never ridden a bike. Until you've ridden a bike, that's when you develop your confidence. Those 10 years that you spent reading the books on riding a bike, that's developing your what? Self-estimation, your self-esteem. What you estimate of yourself, not your confidence. You only develop confidence through experience. Let me ask you a different question. You can read all the books in the world for 10 years about walking on tightrope walking, but you're going to start tightrope walking 1 foot off the ground. You're not going to start tightrope walking the very first try on top of an 8-story building. Confidence without experience and confidence that's not demonstrable is arrogance. And so you don't need confidence to go into something which you know that requires learning. Everything you don't know, you've never succeeded at. You recognize it requires several steps for me to learn that thing. It doesn't have to be hard. The only thing that makes it hard is people imagining it's going to be hard. And so you don't need confidence because you recognize you can't possibly have confidence over something you've never experienced. Impossible. So what do you need? All you need is a confidence within yourself, recognizing that when you're put into any situation, you'll handle it then. All you need is your confidence about yourself, your self-confidence, which radiates, by the way, happiness. Self-confidence radiates, and people, especially women, can tell from miles and miles and miles away someone who is sublimely happy and confident about themselves. Someone who they recognize when they're put into a situation, they can handle it right there if they need to, whether or not they have any experience with that thing or not. And so recognizing that anything new requires you risking making mistakes, and the sublime mistake of recognizing that, hey, once I experience that thing, I'll know what not to do. And then recognizing that it takes certain steps, certain stages for me to be able to reach that successful outcome, the outcome that I desire. And then recognizing that you can't possibly have confidence over something you've never experienced. And so you go into it recognizing that when put into any situation, you'll deal with it. And that is how you can be sublimely happy with who you are and what you're doing right now. You've reasoned it out for yourself. You said to yourself, this endeavor is worth my time. And so I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to do what I want. And other people will condemn me for it because they're going to say they imagine for themselves they can't possibly pursue that thing. That is out of their belief system that they could possibly achieve something great. But you believe you can achieve something great. You have the imagination and the fortitude to say, hey, I could do this thing. I can walk. I can run as fast as I want. I can build this business. I can go after this endeavor. I can be the person that I want in the future. But recognizing I'm not that person now and I don't have that thing now, and recognizing that it takes steps and stages for me to get there. It doesn't have to be hard. You just go through the steps of learning. And once you pursue that thing, you continue to create attempts after attempt after attempt doing that thing. You'll put yourself into situations which you don't know what to do, and recognizing you'll handle it. And then you'll gain the sublime learning of how not to do something and how to do something, which nobody else would have, because they never went through that thing that you went through. That is my lesson for today. Let me recap. Number one, the definition of sublime is something that of such excellence and grandeur and beauty as to be awed and as to be admired. Happiness is something that you make a decision on. It's a choice that you make. You can be happy right now on the pursuit of something you'd like. And you don't have to be suffering. Nothing has to be hard. You can be happy right now going through the process of learning. And every experience you have affords you something tremendous, which is called learning. And for you to reach anything new, for you to achieve anything new, and by definition, things that you don't have is a new thing, you have to risk not being able to do it. In other words, for you to reach anything new, for you to do anything new, for you to acquire any new skill, anything worthwhile pursuing requires your risk making mistakes. And mistake is neither a negative or positive thing. I look at it as a positive thing because you're learning how not to do things. The third thing I talk about is the three castes of people. There are people that are validated solely by doing what they're supposed to do. There are people that are validated only by people following them. Once they lose that following, once they lose that admiration from others, they lose their sense of self-esteem, their worth, their value, their validation of themselves. There are the people that are neither validated by doing what they're supposed to or people following them. And then there's a super archetype, the person that I inspire you to pursue. And that person is neither validated by anything. They're only validated by the results of their decisions. They're only validated by themselves. There's a notion, self-validated. It's a word thrown around by a lot of people, but they don't know what it means. They don't know how to get there. Now you do. Do what you like, presuming you see it as ethical and moral and the right thing to do. Pursue it, whether or not you get the validation of other people or not. I like to say that the validation of people that are negative about what I do and the validation of people that admire what I do is the same kind of validation. It doesn't affect me whatsoever. I don't require the praise of other people. I don't require the negative retorts of other people. I'm solely validated by the results of my decisions. And I'm sublimely happy when I learn how to do things and I learn how not to do things. I make mistakes all the time and I'm happy. The fourth thing, you don't require confidence. You just have to be confident about yourself, recognizing that when put into a situation which is new, recognizing you can't have confidence, possibly. That's impossible. Without experience, that would be arrogance. The only confidence you need is confidence that when put into any situation, you'll handle it right there. And then you'll recognize you'll either learn or you'll find out how to do it. And you'll find out how not to do it. Hopefully that makes sense. What I would encourage you to do is there will be probably a link somewhere in this video or the person that shared this video. I want you to encourage you to join our course, our mastermind, the Great Relationships University. We have 6 courses, 12 plus hours of video online course where we talk about mindset, philosophy, relationships, my favorite, social dynamics, and it'll make you a tremendously amazing individual, radiating happiness, radiating attraction, and a wonderful being to be around, make you much, much smarter and enlightened than the rest. Check that out. Click that link, and I will see you on that mastermind. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.